All right, welcome everybody. It's Chris Petri. Thanks so much for coming by. We're actually going to have a fun and wonderful time painting this seascape scene here with some boats, sailboats, a beautiful boathouse over here on the right-hand side. We're going to use our Prang Oval 16 set, and this is an Extreme Beginner Series painting. So this is for all of you that have been, just starting out with your painting. If this is your first time here, welcome, and thank you for stopping by if this is your very first time. And also, too, if you've been here a couple weeks or a couple months and you're just starting out, I'm going to cover all the basics of doing the glazing technique here on this painting. So let me basically share with you the glazing technique here. Have fun with it. You're looking at the finished painting right now, and I'm just going to zoom in here. Let me just take the painting and shift it over this way just a little bit so we can kind of zoom in. And you'll see a little bit more of the finished product here. Okay, so let's do that. Perfect. Okay, so there we go. All right, and just like that. Perfect. Okay, so here you're going to see how we're going to make a beautiful, big, wonderful glazing technique sky. Lots of clouds, water, blue, the beautiful cool blue sky with the blue paint, bluish green paint. We take that, we flow it all down into the water, then we let it dry 100%, then we come back and we do our distant mountain and shoreline here in distant mountains, and then we also start incorporating our sails of our sailboats. And of course, the first thing we did before we did anything else is we scaled the painting and made sure that we had our coast and our shoreline at the correct height in our painting. And then we sketched our painting out just quickly. We did a quick pencil sketch. You don't even have to do a pencil sketch. You can just paint this in too. You don't have to worry about doing so much the pencil sketch if you want to. If you're just starting out and you're not great at drawing, just paint in the boats and paint in the everything, and you don't have to worry about it. Just have a fun time with it. And so that's what we did. We just went through it, got the second glazing after we got the whole sky wash down in the water, one glazing over the whole painting. We let that dry 100%. I used the blow dryer to dry it. Second time we came through, once it was dry, we did our mountains, painted around our sailboats, painted in our roof here with our boathouse, and then we let that dry 100%. And then we came in our third glazing and we did some reflections from our boats down in the water. We got some weeds and grasses and shoreline here in the close foreground to give us a little more three-dimensional quality to our painting. And we also did a little bit of extra reflections in our water, and we show you how to do that in this video. In this tutorial, we show you how to get that reflective quality in your water by adding additional washes and specific brush strokes that are going to give you a gorgeous feeling of water and that feeling of maybe a beautiful calm bay with some movement of water and exciting feel of the ocean, the bay, the coastline. All these things we're going to cover here on this video, so stay tuned. We'll be right back and we'll start our sketch. Okay, we're back. We're getting started again. We saw the finished painting. We're really just going to kind of, now that we've looked at the finished painting, now we're just going to kind of go step by step for the process of how do we get there? How do we get to the finished painting? To get that really nice looking, beautiful colors, big sky, clouds, beautiful washes, boats, sailboats, shoreline, distant mountains. We're going to cover it all. First thing we're going to do is just basically look at the painting and say, let's first consider what our layout of our design is going to be. So the first thing I would always do and I suggest everyone does, is we could say, let's make this, maybe let's break it into thirds. So if we have, maybe we'll take our, I'll just make this outline of the taped area. I have my paper taped like so. And then we'll say, let's take the paper, and you've seen the finished painting, of course. I would say about, if we took this and made it thirds, and you can always use a ruler too. I always mention that if you don't want to guesstimate or estimate on how much a third is, you can always measure and break things into thirds using mathematics, of course. So if this paper is 10 inches approximately, let's call it 9 inches. So this paper is 9 inches high. Every 3 inches is a third. So 3, 6, 9. And then I made my marks here, and I can transfer them over here. Actually, this one is further on down a little bit. So actually, here is the other third. So I'll just make my third here, and that gives us our division. Now I space division of thirds, and then I'm going to take this and go even a little lower. So I'm going to go a little bit lower than 1/3. So I'm going to keep it even a little lower than that. So we're going to make a really big, beautiful sky on this one. So let's call our, a little bit below 1/3 up from the bottom is our shoreline, distant shoreline. And so we'll just take our pencil and just make a light light pencil line across the paper. So that's our sea level with some mountains. Let's make some mountains in the background here. So let's take these and just make some beautiful, smooth, flowing mountain shapes like that. And then up here, we're going to have some buildings, maybe some boathouses and things like that, and some trees and bushes and things. So we'll have our boats and boathouses over here on the right. And then this is more like the distant ocean area over here. And then once we have that established, we're in pretty good shape. And if you have to erase a few lines, maybe you added a line you didn't think should be there, that's not a problem. You just lift up a little bit of lines, but we're going to go over with a darker drawing in a second. Just want to get that basic form here. Now, what I like to do is I want to have a opening out to the ocean. So I'm going to lift a little bit with the eraser and then just make this go down to the ocean like that. So this way there's a little bit of a feeling like you can go out to the deeper oceans and through the picture. So we're going to kind of have that area where we can go out into the ocean, the deep ocean here, and then we start our mountains over here. So just a little adjustment I made, thinking about the overall layout and design of my painting. I want an area where if you're in a boat, you'll feel like you can go and cruise right on out into the ocean, the deep ocean, to another location, wherever you might want to sail to or boat to. And but other than that, this looks pretty good. So these will be kind of a purple color, these mountains here. You can make some layers to the mountains, maybe purple in the back and then a little bit cooler, but not as quite purple, maybe some green and bluish mountains in the foreground here, and some darker bits of land masses. So then we can make some land masses. You can also use your ruler for other, like maybe you're going to want to make a sandbar over here. So you can take your ruler and kind of keep your ruler will keep you level. So if you're afraid, if you're drawing your lines, you're going to go off on an angle, a ruler helps you to just keep a little bit straighter lines. So you can use the ruler there and just put a straight line there. And then that might be like a sandbar over here. And then you can add to it without the ruler. And then we're going to say that this sandbar over here is like so. And then maybe we'll have a sailboat over here like so. So we'll put a sailboat in there, nice sailboat, like that. Like so. And then we'll go in here a little more, and this is going to be kind of like interesting. There's some docks over here and other boats, and then smaller. Let's make our boats a little smaller over here. There's another boat there, and then maybe a sailboat with the sail over here, like that. So you can kind of just have fun and draw in some shapes, a sail. And again, if you have to do a little bit of erasing, if you make something that might not be a perfect line or shape or whatever with your pencil lines, you can lift up a little bit. And there's another, maybe there's a boathouse up here. So we're going to have that boathouse there, like that. And then maybe off in the distance there's another boathouse up here too as well, like that. So there's a couple different, there's some boathouses along the shoreline here. And then maybe we have over here closer, we have some shoreline that's coming closer to us here, like that. And then maybe there's a little more weeds and grass over here. Just put a little bit of pencil marks, just so you know to add a little bit of weeds and grasses over here. Maybe the same thing over here. Maybe a little bit of some weeds and grasses and marshy areas over here with some... Just put a couple pencil lines like that, little notes for yourself on your paper so you'll know to paint in some interesting things over here. But I think that looks pretty good. So we kind of have a nice cove here along the water, the coastal area. Some sailboats over here. Some more boats over here. Like that. So we have plenty of interesting boats and things happening. Maybe there's a sailboat out here in the open water here along the bay. And maybe there's a few more sailboats over here. And we'll just leave, you know, maybe some white paper. Like that. So there's some sailboats going out to the sea. Some shadowing. But that's all we need to really do. As long as we have this much information, we're fine. Maybe let's just do maybe a couple quick cloud shapes. So let's do a cloud shape like here. Like that. And maybe another cloud shape over here. Like this, just very loosely, kind of make some cloud formations. And then as we go into the distance, we're going to make some cloud shapes, but they're going to be thinner. So then you're going to start to see that these cloud shapes are going to be thinner and smaller as they go into the distance, like that. And we're going to paint those in, obviously, and you did see the finished painting, so no mystery there, but I wanted to just show you that I'm going to put in those long, thin cloud shapes with light pencil lines, just so I know to put them in when I'm painting. So you might not see them that great here on camera, but I have those lines just in here, and then those other cloud shapes over here, like you can see. They're just to kind of have an idea of where the clouds might be. And then from here, we're going to have lots of fun. We're going to use the glazing technique here. So first thing we want to mention is, before we start painting, okay, we've got our pencil drawing done. Looks great. Looks fine. We got all our information in we need. You don't have to do as much information here. You can do maybe only 2 or 3 boats, or 2 boats or 3 boats. I did about maybe 10. And maybe you do like 1 building, 1 boathouse. You might do 2 or 3 if you want. It's up to you. You be creative. Adjust your paintings, with more details or less details as you want. But once you have that basic format of your pencil drawing done, and the main key was that we wanted to make sure we have our sea level at about a little bit less than 1/3 up from the bottom of the page. Can you see that? So our sea level's there on this page. So this page is about 9 inches tall. Our sea level's about 2 inches up from the bottom. So if you take a 9-inch sheet of paper and you measure up 2 inches, you're going to have your sea level where you want it to be, and your shoreline and mountains. And then the rest is going to be sky wash, which is going to be lots of fun. So we're going to do our sky wash next, okay? So let's stay tuned here. And I always mention, if you want to subscribe below, please subscribe. You just click the subscribe button, and basically YouTube will just let you know going forward when I make a new video. It'll just alert you in your YouTube. When the next time you open up YouTube, you'll just see my video on your YouTube channel when you open up YouTube. So it's not like you get any emails or text messages or phone calls or anything like that. When you subscribe to YouTube and you subscribe to my channel, you're just basically telling YouTube, I like this channel a lot. I like the information of the watercolor drawing and painting, and I want to see more of those. So let me know when there's a new video that comes out. And you'll notice that I create new videos once a week usually. I usually have 2 or 3 videos a week that I create of varying styles. Some are beginners, like this one. Some are more expert level paintings, but that doesn't mean if you're a beginner, you can't go in and practice on those and try little parts of them maybe, or maybe try the whole thing, see how it goes. Don't underestimate your talent and your gifts with art, okay? So let's get back to this. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be right back, and we'll get into our glazing technique of our painting right now. All right, we are back. We're going to start painting. We're doing the glazing technique. Remember, we usually do 2 different specific styles of painting on my channel. We do glazing technique and we do alla prima. So those 2 techniques are really the foundation of my style and my way of painting that I feel are just 2 really simple ways to just describe what I'm doing, so I don't have to really when I say to you I'm using the glazing technique, many of you that have been painting with me for quite a while, this is an extreme beginners video, but those of you that have been painting for just even a while, like 3 months or 6 months, are already kind of getting familiar with that idea of, is Chris doing a glazing technique style, or is he doing an alla prima style? And here we're doing the glazing style. So whenever you hear the glazing technique, right away you're kind of already understanding that it's going to be a first wash over the whole entire painting pretty much, most times, and that's your start, and then you have to let that dry 100%. So that's the idea here. And so I always mention with my brushes, you know, I have my brushes here, and if it's your first time here, you'll kind of notice I'll explain a little bit of my brushes just quickly. So I use all synthetic brushes. If you're an extreme beginner, start out with all synthetic brushes. You don't need to have any fancy natural hair brushes like sable hair brushes. Just use synthetic for your first year. And this one comes with the Prang Oval 16 set, which I'm using here. Brand new set I just opened up. And this works great for fine details and even some, you know, moderate washes if you're not working in a large format. Here we're working in a larger format. This is like a 9x12 or a 9x14 painting. So this is a larger scale painting. So you'd want to have some extra brushes. And I always mention that I buy these wood-toned looking brushes, beautiful brushes by Princeton Art and Brush Company. So Princeton Art and Brush Company makes these fantastic brushes. They're synthetic for watercolors. They have that wood tone look to them, so you can't miss them if you go online and look for them, or even in the store. You can buy them in your big box stores like your hobby stores, and your local art shops might have them even. They're pretty popular. They're, you know, readily accessible. You can get them again online, and you can get a package of like 6 brushes. This is 3. There's a few more different brushes that come with the set, but you know, you can look that up online and you'll see they have these, and these are fantastic. So we're going to use the flat brush here, which is larger, so we can get some good amounts of water on our paper when we start doing our glazing technique right now. So first thing I want to do though before I start is I want to change my water. So my water in my water bucket right now is a little murky looking, so let's change that out. First thing I do is I take my water bucket and I stir it around with an old fan brush to just stir up all the bottom sediment in the bottom of my water container. You can use plastic water containers. You can use a glass, a heavy bottom glass. you might have in your pantry or your cabinets. Those work really good. I use those sometimes. Heavy, heavy weighted bottom glass for like, sodas or drinks or whatever. And so we do that. And then I just have a bucket in my studio. I pour that into the bucket. So I have a place to put my murky, mucky water that's got all kinds of sediment in there. I want fresh, clean water. So I'll take my pail here, and then I'll just use my orange juice container, which I keep my water in, like that. And if I am running low on water, I might even have a bottled water. So I drink tons of water during the day, and in the nighttime I'm always drinking water. So I'll use some of that bottled water and just pour that right in. So I always have water on hand, wherever I'm at. And so now let's get started. So fresh, clean water, you can see. Crystal clear water. And then what we'll do is we're going to wet the paper intermittently. We don't have to cover every square inch of it. Just get plenty of water on the top of the painting and even down into the bottom, but mostly the top. And you'll see I'm just going to start putting on the water. And I'm just going to, I will make sure I cover the very, very top of the painting with water over here. And then on the sides over here, I'm going to cover that too, like that. So the sides over here, about an inch in, an inch or two on the top I want to cover, and an inch or two on the sides, like that, all the way down. Like that, with fresh, clean water. Then I keep going in and add some intermittent now. Doesn't have to be everywhere. Just get some bits of water on there. Don't flood the paper out too terribly much. But just get a good amount of water. Put it on. Bring it right down into the water in your painting right here on the shore. The lines where the mountains are, the boats, cover everything over with a little light wash of water, and you're all set. Now, while that's setting up and kind of soaking into the paper, which is good, and you can add a little more water too up top here. Then we start mixing our colors. Now, I already have some colors in here. Let me do this. Let me take a spritzer bottle. A spritzer bottle, Holbein makes a great spritzer bottle. And I just spritz this here, and I'm going to just clean my palette up first before I start my painting. And I take a paper towel, and I just take my paper towel and just, I have paint from my last painting. Let me clean this up a little bit just to have a fresh, clean working surface every time I start a new painting. And then we're all set. Now we're going to do some mixtures for our sky wash. So let's get some blue. Okay. So we have some blue there. Some more darker blue here, like a more of a richer, darker blue here. Okay, and what I need to do is I need to spritz my paints. I forgot to do that. Let me do that. Spritz your paints with a little bit of water before you start with your Holbein set, your Prang set. And this way you can really get your colors activated and going. A little bit of the greenish turquoise green here. I call it, what's Viridian really, Viridian green if you're used to. Most professional artists use Viridian green, so this is like a Viridian green. This is like a peacock blue, or we could call that like a cerulean blue. And this one here is like a cobalt French ultramarine blue. That's pretty good. That's some really good sky wash. Then a little bit of brown to mellow out those colors. So add a little brown to each of those. Just a touch of brown though, not too much. Okay. And then we'll add a little bit of orange too for the shore area, for the distant horizon line. You're going to want to have a little orange color. That's the warmth of the earth kind of meeting up with the cool of the sky. So you want to capture that effect, and you'll see that in real life, if real nature, if you look out at the distant mountains and the distant horizon line when you're out, just doing your everyday living life and going here and there and doing your daily activities. You'll notice that the horizon line usually has a little bit of an orange hue along the horizon line, wherever that may be, whether it's along the coast or even in the city areas. You'll always have that little bit of haze and warm color along your horizon line, and then your colors up and above are the cooler, beautiful blue sky colors, just gorgeous, cool sky. The heavens above, beautiful blue coolness of the oceans reflecting back out into the sky. Okay, so let's see. We've got plenty of paint mixed up first, which we wanted to do. We have our paper, which is really damp with plenty of water. Let's add a little more water. And so I'm going to add a little more water to my... It's starting to dry a little bit, so let me add some more water. And again, I'll do the same thing. I'll add some water around the edges here and over here with some fresh, clean water. And then some more water along here. So basically covering the whole sheet, basically. And then, what next is the fun part. Let's get that blue. The sky colors, right? Look at how good that looks. We just get the sky colors up here. And even though my paint is buckling, I'm not worrying about it. Okay, so I have some cloud shapes. I'm just sort of kind of flowing with things. Doesn't have to be exact, but I'm looking at it and saying, okay, I know I want to keep my top area of my sky darker, so let me go in and get really, really dark, rich paint and just start getting that up on top here. Because the top of your sky needs to be darker as far as tonal values go. It has to be darker with a little bit of brown in there too and more blue. We want to have the sky rich with paint and water, but definitely darker in tonal value. And then as we work down towards the water and the horizon line, then we can make it lighter. So the sky gets lighter as it moves on down, and you have your clouds fixed in there too. So let's notice that too. Now I have some cloud shapes, so let's do that. Let's do some cloud shapes here and there, right? Doesn't have to be perfect, and don't worry about it. Just, right, you have some cloud shapes like that. And you can even, when you have too much water puddling on your watercolor paper, you can always grab a tissue, bunch it up a little bit like that, and then you can lift up some of that water, because that water will give you problems later. So just lift up that puddle of water. You don't want a puddle of water sitting on your paper like that. So you notice I lifted that up, and now it's gone. So now, and if you see other puddles forming, lift them up with your tissue like that. Okay, and like I said, we have the soft clouds. Let's let those happen as they will. Put a little bit of darker bits of color and then smooth it out a little bit. But just you want some darker accents in here and there around your clouds. Okay, and you can even make a cloud up here by just lifting up like this with your tissue. Like that. You can do a little cloud. You can scrub out a little cloud like that. And then smooth in a little bit like this. Like that, just to make a little variation. Play around with this, have fun. Don't sweat it. You might need to do 5 or 6 of these type paintings right here, the same exact painting. Try 5 or 6 of them. And then, you see, and each one that you do, you learn something new. And now you're going to see I'm going to do the longer clouds in the distance here. Clouds, they get longer, and across here you can see that gives us a feeling of the clouds going back in the sky. So up front, they're big. The clouds are big, large up here in the foreground, or in the closest part of our painting, the top of the painting. This is right close where we're standing is the top of this sky here. And then as the sky goes down lower, down here, that's way far in the distance. And that's why I'm making those lines like this, because it's far in the distance and the clouds are much thinner because they're way off in the distance. I hope that makes sense. And I think it looks good. It reads good here on the painting. And you don't have to worry about things. Okay. Now we talked about the orange of along the horizon line. So let's get that orange glow along the coastal area like that. Just get it on quick. Don't mess around too much, right? Just get that orange glow along the horizon of your painting, along the mountains. Just get that orange across there. And that's all you have to do, like that. Then you take the blue again and we'll go down here. Maybe we add a little bit of that orange here in the water, closest to the shore. And then some blue for the sky. So we're just reflecting the sky down into the water. So the water here is basically picking up all the blue sky colors right here. So that's all we're doing, is just putting that sky color right in the water here, as you can see, and I'm just flowing it in there real easy. And we'll go over and get grasses and things like that on top of this once we're letting this dry. So that's all you have to do. Can you see how how effortless that was, really? Just like that. Now the easy part is letting it dry. We can just take an hour or two and let this dry. You could get a blow dryer and blow dry this off, you know. Within 5-10 minutes, you can blow dry this off nice and easy. And dry it nice and easy, and you'll notice that the paper will become flat again and kind of flatten out. Right now it's kind of, the paper's buckled a little bit, but it does get flat once you dry it, because the water will dissipate when you blow dry it, or if you let it dry naturally. It might take an hour or two to dry naturally, but I'm hoping you're going to follow along with my video and just say, you know what, now is the time. I'll do some clouds too down here in the water. Okay. Either we let this dry naturally for a couple hours, 2-3 hours, or again, we use a blow dryer. So I'm going to use my blow dryer actually once I shut the camera down, and I'll come right back in about a few seconds or two, a few minutes or so, and we'll have this all dry, and then we'll work on our boats, our hills, our distant mountain, and some of our reflections and our boathouses up here, and we'll be done. So we're already halfway through our painting, and it's going really well, and I'm hoping you're going to stick here on my channel and follow along on this painting. You're going to have a great time, and especially this is a perfect beginner's painting. And even if you've been painting a while, you can do this one. Even if you're, you have 10 years under your belt and you're already a seasoned grizzled pro at watercolor, no problem. Try this painting and just do it with your whatever palette you have and brushes, and you can just figure it out from there. But for the beginners, this is really the way to go. A gorgeous seascape painting with some boats and hills and boathouses and a big sky with lots of clouds. And I'm going to guarantee you're going to have a beautiful outcome once we're completed with this one, okay? So let's come back in just a few minutes, and once I let this dry, I'm going to use, again, a blow dryer to dry it off, maybe for 5 minutes or so, and then we'll start up again, okay? All right, we're getting back started again. Nice and dry, you can see here. Paper is dry. I use my blow dryer. We're all set. Ready to start up and get our second glazing started. Pretty much it's the first glazing is that lighter wash you can kind of see. That's the first glazing that goes over the whole paper. And then now we're going to start doing our darks, our medium and darks now. So let's use what we have here. We have some blue already mixed in our palette. We can use that. That's nice, fresh, clean color. There's no real problem using that, I would say. Let's use some of that. And let's mix in some brown and some green. So some brown and green. Some orange. And maybe some blue. It's a distant kind of color, I would say, for the distant hills. So I'll have a tissue with me to dry off my brush if I need to, and I'm using the stock brush that comes with the Prang Oval 16 set. So if you get this Prang Oval 16 set, you're going to have all your colors you need, and you're also going to have a brush that can do most of your work. You will need to get probably a larger flat brush or square brush, or you could even get a larger synthetic brush that you might be able to find online, like a round brush. These square brushes or flat brushes work nice too. And we covered that in the beginning of the video. So let's continue on here and let's start to do our distant hills here, which are grass and dirt and rocks, right? And then we're just going to go around our sailboat here. So we want to kind of have the tip of that sail on that sailboat visible there, because that's actually part of the excitement of the sailboats on the water here. And I'm following my line here, the shoreline here. So you want to keep a watch of your shoreline. You don't want to get off course on that. And I go around that other sailboat here, and we have another sailboat here. So this is where your brush work really comes in handy if you're practicing brush strokes and swatches and things like that. It'll make your life when you're painting so much easier because you'll already be comfortable with your brush work. So I can just sort of really smoothly get this wash in, and I'm not struggling because I already have practiced doing lots of brush work. So I can keep my shoreline straight like that, as you can see. This is a little easier because you just have kind of like a wavy distant mountain on the top here, so that's no big deal. That's easy to do. And there we're going to have another sailboat there. That's a larger sail. It's closer to us. And then we have the, now we're starting to get a little bit warmer, a little more brown, maybe a little bit of red. Brown and red. We have a little bit, we're starting to get, let's start to do this. Let's get some darker hills in here. Okay, so that's what happens when you're painting with watercolors. You start to come up with like ideas where you say, oh, I kind of think, I'm thinking to myself, this is what I'm thinking right now, is this lighter greener color, it's more of a bluish green, that's the distant mountains in the far, far back there, maybe a couple miles out. Then as we're getting closer this way, maybe a mile away from us, this might be 2 miles out here, this might be a mile. Then we start to get the darker browns, the beautiful colors of the browns here, like that. So these hills are browner and darker and redder. So brown and red. So that gives us our feeling of the shoreline is closer to us here. Like that. And then as it goes into the distance, it gets cooler. And then we can take this brown, add a little more red to it. We can even go over here, make a little separate section over here. Red and brown, red and brown, orange. Mix up a red, brown, orange, and we'll make our boathouse over here like that. Then we can add a little bit of blue and purple. And this might be the shadow side of that. Boathouse, and the same thing over here. There's a boathouse up here let's get that in there. That's basically a pyramid or a triangle. And there's a triangle here too. So look how easy that is. A triangle and a slanted line. So a triangle and a slanted line, both sides like that. And then we'll go back into our mountain colors and we're going to continue on with that. And that's, we can kind of see that's some more greens over here. It's starting to get a little bit more colorful here, closer to us. A couple splashes of paint. So we have some hills back here. You don't have to be exact with that, you know, like this. Okay, and that's it. You can kind of blend things in. And that's all you need to really do. Don't go overboard. Leave some room for guessing, and don't get carried away. A little bit of splashing helps. Okay, so now we have our distant hills. Let's do some purple. We have to have some purple for our distant hills, distant mountains. Let's keep it light for right now and try it out. But I'm telling you right now, this is really gonna look good. See that? Wow. And those are the purple mountains in the background here that look even further in the distance. That looks really good. And you can mix in some of that purple with some of the green, so it doesn't look too much like a racing stripe on a car or a pair of sports athletes' uniforms, you know, kind of break it up a little bit. But I think that looks fantastic. We're almost done now. Look at how good that looks. All right. Now let's go with some orange. Let's make this sail an orange sail, like so. Like that. That looks pretty good. Maybe this one too. So we'll do some different color sails. Maybe we'll leave a couple white. We'll leave a couple of orange color. And then now we're pretty much going in and we're going to get straight paint. So there we have the straight paint of the red and orange and brown. And then we're going to add in a little bit of blue and purple to get it darker, like that. Maybe a touch of black, just like that. So now we have a really good dark color, like almost like a blackish brown with some blue in it too. And we're using our Prang Oval 16 round brush. And we're just going to do the bottoms of our boats, sailboats here. And this one over here too, like that. Okay, so you can see I'm starting to get my and I'll put in some shadowing. So the shadows are here. The reflections, I should say, for the boats. Just a little bit of reflections under the boats. Like that. And then a little bit of the, for the sails. Like that. That's all you have to do, and just a little bit of sail, you know, like the indication, you know, of some reflections in the water. That's all you need to do for that. We're not going to let that get the best of us and go overboard with details. Just get a few little tiny squiggly lines underneath your boats for shadows and reflections, and you're fine. Over here on this building, looks like that boathouse looks fine We could maybe add some white paint later. We'll do that later. We'll do a couple touch-ups with some white paint. But I think for right now, this is good. Now what we have to do is let this sit for a few minutes and dry. Again, with the glazing technique, that's the key. If you can be patient and persevere through letting things dry. And again, if you have a blow dryer, now's the time you would blow dry this section where you did the mountains and the boathouse and the second boathouse up here. This one kind of faded into the mountains, which is fine. You do the boathouses, the sailboats, the sails, just like we did with some reflections in the water. And now we have to let this sit again. We have to either blow dry this for about 5 minutes and blow dry and dry it completely, or you let it sit like maybe 1 or 2 hours, so that when you come back and look at it, it can't be damp. It has to be dry, and then you'll be all set to do your next set of washes, okay? So I hope that's really this is the key to glazing technique. So everyone out there, you're taking notes, I know. You're taking notes, you're jotting down some things, and you're saying the key to glazing technique is definitely letting your washes dry. You have to do that. You have to let them dry. You have to use a blow dryer. And if you don't have a blow dryer, or you don't want to use a blow dryer, you don't want to be bothered with that, then you have to wait a couple hours until this really dries like 100%. Because if you try going in and adding more details to these areas that are damp, it's going to make a mess of your watercolor, and you don't want that. So that's why I always say, please, 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 either use a blow dryer to dry your glazings, or you have to have some patience and time and say, I'm going to walk away for a couple hours and come back, or even the next day you can come back and start working again on your painting. But you really have to work that way with the glazing technique. Otherwise, it's going to really get the best of you, and you'll wind up kind of being frustrated with your paintings starting to get blotchy colors and spots, and things get really unpleasant looking when you're trying to paint on top of damp glazes. So the glazing technique, again, is doing multiple glazings and letting each glazing dry as you go, and then going back in and working again. So let's do that. Let this dry now at this point, and we'll come back in just a second after this dries. I'm going to use my blow dryer, and then we'll start up again. All right, everyone, we're back. We're in business. We're getting set to go in and do our last bit of details on this painting. And this is always the time when you want to kind of hold back a little bit and not get carried away with too many details, because that can really ruin a painting. So I always say, underfinish your paintings, kind of like really kind of think to yourself, all right, now we've got pretty much 90% of the painting completed. Let's hold back and not do too many details, but we do have to add a few more things, and let's do those few added additional parts of the painting that we have to do, and then let it be completed at that point. You can always, a week or two later, look at this painting again in your studio, in your living room, in your kitchen, your basement, wherever you're set up and you do your watercolor paintings. And I know all of you have different places you like to work, maybe in a sunroom or what have you. Please try to hold back and not do too many details at this point, because really at this point it's looking really nice, really good, and we don't want to go overboard and do too many things like adding 25 or 30 masts, for the sails, or adding additional trees or bushes that might really kind of ruin it. Let's keep it real simple. So, and that being said, let's think to ourselves, all right, let's carefully think about what we're going to do now to kind of complete the painting. So the first thing I'll do is I will empty my water bucket one more time. So I just want to get fresh, clean water in my water bucket. And let's see now. Let's do some green. Okay, some green with some yellow and orange. That makes a really warm green, like an olivey green. That looks good. So then what I'll do is I'll take my brush, let me use my flat brush, my square brush here, dry off some of that water. We don't want too much water on there. So when I rinse my brush off, I dry off that water so there's not too much water on there. on the brush. Then I go right into my paint that I just mixed up, and then let's see if we can, I have to move my water bucket a little bit because let's see if we can kind of, I'm going to take my brush and hold it like this versus like this, and see if we can get in some, just a little bit of, I'm going to scrub in some shoreline there. Can you see that? And that's about it. I think that's good. And then let's add a little bit of kind of muddy looking colors like the shoreline. So some brown, orange, brown, orange, like that. Maybe a little bit of that green too, just to sort of mellow that orangey green out, but I think that should look good. And then the same thing too, I'm not going to hold my brush like this. I'm going to hold it like this and kind of scrub it like this. Oh, it looks good. Look at that. Wow. Like that. That looks good. Again, very sparingly though. Let's not do too much. And then maybe we can take a little bit of that and blend it in over here. Up to there. So we try to blend things a little bit. Like that. And I think that looks pretty good. Like so. Like that. And then maybe let's take some more green. Like that, and some brown. And we'll do a couple little, over here we'll do some like that. A couple little upstrokes. Then we go in and we'll take our praying brush that we have that comes with our set and get a little bit of some darker weeds in here. And I'll kind of just okay, a little bit of weeds, a little bit more water, and we'll do some splashing. Look how good that looks. Some splashing always looks good, like that. Okay. So now we're creating some three-dimensional qualities to the painting, where we're having some closer bushes. You know, you might want to, you can use your thumbnail to do a couple scrapes like that. And then we're going to do another little bit of some weeds over here. So let's get some weeds over here. Take your round brush like this, get it in some of that greenish olivey green, and just kind of drag your brush across real lightly like this. And then you can even do some upstrokes like this. Just like that. Then we can go in and get some of the purplish and mixtures here, just a little bit of blue, green, just trying to get a little bit darker under there, where the bottom of that is there. A couple splashes, maybe two over here, just for a little more. You could even do a couple taps there, like so. Like that, just to give it more texture. Like that. Okay, and the idea is adding these little bit of bushes and weeds and things like that adds a little bit of, gives it some dimension, the painting. So you feel like you're maybe over on a dock or along the shoreline here, and you're looking across the water, and then you're seeing the sailboats across over here. So if you do have some of these additional bits of detail over here, like that. If you have a few of these little details, like that. That's going to look really good, but that's where we have to be careful not to go overboard with our details. But that's why I want to just add a little bit of that in there. Okay, that's good. Now the last thing we can do is we'll rinse our brush off, and I'm going to take some titanium white with a little bit of orange, a little bit of brown. So I'll maybe make a little spot over here, orange and brown. Yellow. We'll make like a yellow ochre color like that. Dry off my brush on a piece of tissue like so. Get that there, and then put that in the top of my titanium white. So I want my titanium white to have some of that yellow ochre or yellow orangey color in the white. I don't want the white to be pure white. I want it to have a little bit of warmer look to it. Then what we can do is we can make a little bit of details here. So let's take our mast here, and we'll just add a little bit of, see how we did that? Just a little touch of white paint there. And maybe there too, like that. So a couple little white spots here and there. I think that was the only spot we really needed, just like this here. Just like that. That looks pretty good. Then we can rinse off our brush, go back in, get a little bit of like a grayish color, dry off the brush a little bit so there's not too much on there, and then we just make the rest of that sail, the mast of the, just like that. Okay. And what else do we have here? We could take some black, make some doors and windows over here. Doors and windows. That kind of gives us a little bit of a feeling of some doors and windows over here at the docks, and we could put some more a couple details here. Maybe there's there's maybe some docks here and some pilings. Like that. Key is not too much detail though. You don't want too much detail. Maybe there's another little bit of detail like that. But I think that's it. This is perfect. Okay, so everyone, you've kind of seen how we tackle this painting with the glazing technique. Lots of beautiful washes in the beginning, lighter blue washes with some white fluffy clouds, and then some of that sky color reflecting down in the bottom of here into the water. So basically, you're always, whenever you're doing like a seascape scene or a seascape, or if you're painting boats, things like that along the shore, coastal scenes, you always just want to remember that you want to reflect your sky down into your water. And then I'm going to do a little more. I meant to do this before. I just wanted to get that roof a little bit better there on that building. And then maybe a couple chimneys here. Okay. Only one other thing I would do here. Okay, and that is with this brush here, again, the Prang Oval 16 brush that comes stock with the set. I'll take some water and we'll use some of this green and blue, like this, green and blue, like that. Load up your brush with water, and then we want to just get some, maybe even some green too, maybe over here. We're going to want to get some, maybe some water, some Does that look better? I think that looks better. And some green too. And I tend to move my brush like with the same flow of the water, like this. Just have a little bit of maybe movement there in the water. And then you can always, I'll put a little bit of distant water there. Then you can always too take a little bit of fresh clean water. So I'm going to, one more time, dump out the water, fresh clean water. Take some water. Take just some of the blue. Water it down a lot. Okay, and then you're going to want to just do this. You do a couple stripes. This looks kind of weird. I know it looks weird. You're going to think, oh my God, what's he doing? He's ruining the whole painting. No. Trust me, if you do this, you take a couple stripes, go down your painting with some water, like this. Like so. Okay. Now you let that set for just a few seconds. Then you take your brush, you dry off your brush on a tissue or a sponge or your apron or whatever you have. Some paper towels, and then what you do is you take your brush and you just, like this, not like this, like this, and you just go across here and there, not everywhere, and just kind of move the paint across the whole painting like that. And then you can even drag along like this. You take your tissue and you just kind of, and that gives you a feeling of the water reflecting. And I'll splash a little more water on top of that too, as well. Fresh, clean water on top of there. And I think that just gives it an extra bit of interesting variety to your water as you're trying to get your coastal area, your coastal water here. You want it to look a little bit more like water. If you do that, I think it does give it a little more watery, reflective type quality to it, versus just leaving it plain paper with the sky wash reflected down in there. Once your painting's completely 100% dry and you're actually at this last bit of your painting where you're doing your last bit of details, let those last bit of details dry. Then you go in and just, again, do that quick little, mix up some blue, like so. Light blue with lots of water, clean water, and just some blue and green. And you just do your, like that. And that kind of feels like reflective water, a reflective bit of technique that really does give you a little more excitement in your painting than if you were just to leave it the way it was before. So I hope you all enjoyed this painting. And again, I always say, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. On the right-hand side below, right here on the screen, you'll see that red subscribe button. All that means is you'll click on that, and then YouTube will just let you know. The next time I make a video, you'll see that when you open up YouTube the next time. You'll see, oh, Chris made a new video. And I'm making videos here week after week, month after month, and year after year. So if you want to learn watercolor, please stick with me. Subscribe to my channel. Follow along week by week, and again, month by month, and even year over year. The more you're with me on my channel and working along with all of us here that are working on YouTube, you will get better. Your paintings will get more exciting. You will have more mastery over your medium of watercolor. So many people have been leaving me emails, sending me the photos of their paintings. Their paintings look absolutely wonderful. Some of the paintings I can't even tell if they're sending me my painting or theirs, because they're just working so diligently with my techniques that I'm actually thinking I can't even tell my paintings from theirs. And that's a great thing. I'm so happy for those people. You know who you are. You're sending me your paintings, and I think you're doing incredible work out there. So just it's all fun, it's all enjoyable, it's watercolor. It's just we're working here week after week, again, month after month, and year after year. And the more time you're putting in, the more results you're going to get, the more successful results you're going to have with watercolor as you work along with us here and practice the techniques over and over. We're doing the same things over and over again, and repetition is the mother of skill. Always remember that. The more you repeat things over and over and over, the more skillful you become at what you're repeating. And that's my basic game plan here on my channel. The more you're repeating what we're doing here on my channel, the more successful you will get at painting. So thanks again for coming by. Thanks for all the beautiful comments, the praises, the encouragement, your stories, your comments that you leave for everyone so that everyone can learn together. We all learn together when you're leaving comments. Many of you have great insights into the watercolor medium, those of you that have been painting a while. And of course, this is an Extreme Beginner series, so I'm glad for you, those that are just starting out. Have fun with this type of style painting, glazing technique, beautiful coastal scene, big, beautiful washes. Let it dry, 100%, come back, do your secondary washes with the darker darks, the mediums and darks, and then you come in and do your last, after that dries, your third glazing, you come in and you do your finishing touches on the painting, and you will absolutely be happy with this, and you will probably wind up actually framing this painting, putting it up in your house, or giving it as a gift for loved ones or friends. So let's all have a fun time together on the watercolor journey, and we'll see you next time, okay? All right, we'll see you soon, and bye for now. Hi everybody, I'm Chris Petri. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for stopping by my channel here. We're doing watercolor art 24/7. We're actually going to do a delightful painting today. We're going to use some simple subject matter. We'll do a still life. We have a coffee cup here. I have a plastic fruit, which is an orange, styrofoam. So you can use real subject matter. I have a large amount of faux fruit. If you look up faux fruit online, you can find really all kinds of great, every apples, oranges, grapes, you name it, pears and different style apples, green apples, Granny Smith apples, Red Delicious apples, every kind of fruit and vegetable you can imagine. Styrofoam. This looks very real, very convincing. They have a really beautiful detail, the way they created these. So you can find some really good quality faux fruit. And what's nice about this is you can put it into a bag or a duffel bag and bring it anywhere you want and practice watercolor. And you can also leave it in the studio. You don't have to worry about anything like bugs or things going rotting or anything like that. I leave my faux fruit in my studio, and I have everything: limes, lemons, you name it. Like I said, all as much as they've made every kind of faux fruit and vegetable you can imagine. So I'm going to use just a simple orange. I'm going to use a simple white coffee cup. I'll use also a picture. Maybe we'll create, maybe I'll make a picture, you know, just like for, sometimes I'll just recall, I have a numerous amount of pictures, clear glass pictures for flowers. I have I have a couple white pictures for flowers. So I have all different kinds of still life things in my studio that I use. And also sometimes I'll just draw from memory, and maybe we'll do that here for some of our items. But again, you know, be creative, set up a couple little still life setups for yourself, and just practice on those. And here we'll do that. We'll set up a nice across. I'm just going to set up a little few things. I'm going to take this here and we're going to tape this down. Let's tape down our paper, our watercolor paper. Tape down our palette. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll tape this down first here. And it's always good to tape down our watercolor paper, and then tape off our sections that we want to. This way, when we're done with our exercises and our compositions, we can just take the tape off and we have a finished painting right there, waiting to put into a scrapbook, or we can put it on the wall and take, look at it for a few weeks or so and kind of critique it ourselves. That's always good to do. You know, you take your paintings and you hang them up in your house, or give them away. You know, you give them away sometimes too. Maybe you're going to sell them a few times here and there to friends, or gallery shows, whatever you do. But as an artist, it's always good to take your work and display it in your studio, in your house, and you can learn from it and say, I like that, I like this, I like that other thing I did there, and maybe I'd like to do this different next time. I think I could make it look better in this section or that section, or so forth. So always try to improve a little bit each time, and also enjoy the victories that you have when you're painting. So here, let's go in and we'll do just a simple composition, just so we can get some cool ideas here of. So I think I'll. So here I'm doing a picture, and then I'm going to do my coffee cup and the saucer. And I'm going to come around this way and we'll do our orange here. So this is just a fun composition. We're trying to and maybe we'll have a little bit of fun design on this. We'll do some blue ornamentation on this, and we'll do some more design here too. Do some more ornamentation on our. Just lightly here, I'm going to do a very light, just so I remember to have some ornamentation and interesting details on our vase here, our white vase. In this exercise, we should keep things loose, keep things fun. Maybe we'll pretend there's a little plant over top of this here, some flowers. Maybe there's a larger vase over here, and there's some leaves and things here. So we'll just make an indication of that. Okay, that looks good. And again, here we're having fun. We're just going to mix some colors and have a good time here. We're not worried too much about, is this a award-winning, painting or anything like that. We're just having fun. We're going to practice the fundamentals of watercolor right now. So right now we just did our contour drawing. We went in, we looked at our subject matter. It could be from a book, from a picture. You might set up your still life with some cups and saucers and so forth, and fruit. You can use real fruit. You can buy faux fruit, and vegetables and all kinds of interesting things. You could, if you don't like those type of things, you can set up things that you have around the house that you like. Maybe you name it, anything, kitchen items, some of favorite heirlooms, things like that. Anything that you want, you can just really set them up and draw them and paint them. So here I'm just doing a nice loose representation of coffee cup and an orange and a white vase. We're going to do some blue ornamentation on this. And there's maybe a little some leaves here. And let's see how we can just make this fun. Alright, I'll get my brushes here. Okay, and I have fresh clean water. Okay, let's get right in and we'll do some of the darks. Let's take some of that blue for our ornamentation. That is French ultramarine blue mixed with a little burnt umber, maybe a little burnt sienna. Okay. And maybe we'll blot out a little bit there. And maybe we'll go in with some sap green and some olive green. And we'll get a little bit of that leaf shape in there. This is fun. Look at this. How easy is that? This is just absolute fun with colors, and all we did was really set down a nice little bit of contour drawing, nothing fancy. And now we're letting our paints do the fun, the work. A little splashing. Loosen things up, splash a little bit, have fun. Don't worry too much about how perfect it looks. We're having an enjoyable time here. Alright, so we have a little bit of blue for our ornament here, a nice little stripe going along the top of the vase. Let's do some cobalt blue. And just a little flicking around of the brush to pretend we know what we're doing. There we go. Another great little bit of design. And how about here? Maybe a little bit of mineral violet. We'll go over here, mineral violet, purple, mixed in with a little cobalt blue. Change up the color a little bit. There we go, another little flick of some detail, and we got it. There we go. And a little more here, maybe some more in detail on this beautiful vase here. And again, we'll go right into the French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, burnt sienna. And let's do a little okay, now we'll use our needlepoint brush. And we'll even get into some more fine detail. Even this is pretty fine detail right here, but let's get even to some additional fine detail. Let's perfect. Okay, now let's take a little bit of that green that we have mixed here and a little bit of the blue and purple over here, and let's do some shadowing. Maybe a little cerulean blue too. A little bit of yellow ochre too, mixing a little bit of warm. Okay, now we're doing negative shade painting. We're taking this area here and we're accentuating the light on this side of the vase over here. So the light's coming from here. If we want to make sure, we just take a light insignia like that with a light bulb, and we say the light's coming from here. A little more of yellow ochre, just to warm up that cool green and blue that we were using. Okay, now we're at the bottom of the vase, which is in shadow. The light is catching this side of the vase and the so we'll let that be like that. Here we go. Now to make sure that we accentuate the light on this side of the vase, we will put a little bit of green and blue over here. Maybe a little mineral violet. And maybe we'll just lightly fade this out over here. But this is good. Make sure we do a little bit of a darker dark over here. Again, negative shade painting. We're painting around the subject to make it appear. So if we didn't paint this tonal value, this little darker over here on this side of the vase, then that part of the vase would not look as if it's there. So we want to make sure we paint negative shade painting to keep our subject matter looking real. Let's do our orange. Fire in that beautiful orange, cadmium orange. How does that look? That looks great. Let's add a little cadmium red to the bottom section here of that cadmium orange, and some yellow ochre. And then as we go up, let's fade it a little bit and make it lighter up here. There we go. A little bit lighter up here. Even if you have to use the tissue and lighten it up a little bit on the top of the orange. Perfect. A little more cadmium red in the bottom. And then we can mix that on. We use a dry brush. We take our cleaner brush, dry it off on the tissue, and then we can take some straight paint right out of the palette and go right into the painting. Don't even worry about mixing it onto the palette. Just go straight into the palette and right into the paint, onto the painting. And just dance the brush around a little bit here and there. Rinse off the brush again, dry it really well with some tissue, and then you can just move the paint around a little bit. Rinse off the brush again, dry it again with no paint, no water, and then you get a nice sense of light on the top of the orange. Plenty of darker tonal value on the shadow area here. The orange is catching more light on top. And then let's go in, we'll do a little bit of shadowing on our coffee cup. Maybe we'll use a little bit of alizarin crimson here and cadmium red. And maybe we'll just do some exciting red over here. Sometimes we don't always have to stick to what we see in front of us. We can add different things to make it look better. That's what I'm doing here. I'm adding orange and red over here a little bit just to make things look better. And I'll go in with some French ultramarine blue again, a little bit of green, a little bit of shadowing under there. Let's get back into some of the greens up here. Let's change our color a little bit, add a little more burnt umber, or add some burnt umber to that green, which would be sap green and olive green, just to give us a little bit of a different look. Keep things different. Big leaf, small leaf. I was noticing my drawing, everything was looking the same size. All the leaves here were looking the same size. That's not a good look. It's better to change things around a little bit, have things look different, non-symmetrical. So I had one larger leaf and one smaller one. And we'll put a little more green there. And some cerulean blue with some of that green. Then we can go into some yellow ochre. Then we can go back, we'll pick up our needlepoint brush, some raw umber and some of that yellow ochre, and dance the brush around a little bit just to get a little variety here. Then we'll go in, we'll get some more sap green. And again, negative shape painting. I'm going to paint around that handle a little bit. And just splash and I'll paint in that edge of this vase here. Maybe a shadow over here a little bit. Another little splash over here. And maybe some green over here just to balance things. So I'll put some green over here. Alright, that is it. That is how simple we can have things in watercolor. Just taking a couple simple things like a coffee cup, an orange. You can pick, you know, lemons, limes, any kind of fruit, vegetable you like. You maybe put down a picture, maybe some leaves, some shapes of leaf forms next to it. You don't necessarily have to draw a bouquet of flowers. Here you could just put something nearby, just so you have a feeling of like this is near a bouquet of flowers or some a plant, some potted plants. You can expand this idea, make it a full painting, and then add in a potted plant or whatever you would like. But I think the key is it's really fun in watercolor to just do small parts of things. And once you practice small parts of things a lot, then you're sort of already ready to do it in a larger painting. Let's say if you want to make a large painting to frame or to bring to a gallery, if you're maybe going to have a gallery show, or if you have someone commissions you to do a painting for them and they see your work and love it and they want you to paint a painting for them, and they ask you if you can make it 18 by 24. So if we're always working in smaller format, that can be an issue. But if we paint our smaller format, smaller parts of the larger whole, then we can take this idea, add a potted plant to it within a larger painting, and then we have our painting. A coffee cup, a vase, a couple pieces of fruit, and a potted plant. We've already painted this, so now all we have to do is practice doing the potted plant a few times, let's say, and then we can make a larger format, a larger painting, and then we have it. Here I think the only thing I would add is maybe just a little color just over the okay. Alright, I hope we had fun here, and this is, again, you'll always hear me say it, have fun with your watercolors, enjoy, let's work on small comps, and then eventually doing the bigger, larger paintings is no problem. And if we peel off our tape, this makes a perfect small composition to pin up on our wall next to our desk where we work, our studio, our office. Maybe we work in the office and we want to put up a small painting. Maybe people come by, they love it, they want one too. You can create a couple of these, make prints of them, or make a couple for our friends at work. Okay, again, let's see if we could as you can see, nothing too fancy, really just very loose, very free, getting the basic shapes drawn in, and then just putting in the color. And really we used a lot of negative shape painting here. We painted around this white vase quite a bit, the top, around the handle, inside of the handle. So we did a lot of negative shape painting here, painting around an object to make it appear. And as well over here on this side of the vase, we added that paint here to make this side of the vase accentuate that so that we can see that clearly. And lots of good color and fresh color, and we had a lot of fun doing it. Alright everyone, we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.